Hi, and welcome to the channel. This week is all about classroom library organization. We are going to be talking about tips, tricks, and hacks to get your classroom libraries organized, because we know that space can be completely overwhelming. And not only are we going to learn how to organize that space, but how to keep it organized all year, and better yet, teach students how to access it themselves and keep it organized. So if you're ready, let's dive in. Before we get started, I want you to think about how you felt about your classroom library space this year. Was it a place that you loved? Was it a place that started out great but then ended up a mess? Was it a complete mess the whole year? No matter how you feel, I've been there too. I have done the organization, done the hard work. They can't keep it organized. And I've taught first grade for a long time, so it can be a big deal. So no matter how you felt about it, we're going to talk about tips to get that space to be exactly how you want it to. Let's first start with how to organize your space. There are lots of different ways that you can do it. Some people like to organize their book by level. Some people like to do it by genre. There are so many different ways that you can do it. I will say I've done a lot of different ways, including by level and then to by genre. And my favorite by far has been by genre. We want to create a love of reading for our students, so we don't want to box them in to a reading level. And we know that's not science of reading anyways. We really want to encourage students to pick a book that they're interested in and that looks good to them, and then we will spend the time teaching them how to read in groups. But for your library space, let it be a place where they can go get books that look good, instead of trying to teach them to read in that time. So I want you to think about what feels good to you and how you want to organize your space. Know that you can set it up one way and you may change it. That's okay. I've been there, done that in the middle of the year. Again, just do whatever feels right to you and your students. You're going to hear me talk a lot about organizing by genre in this video. Okay, so before we dive into the tips and tricks, let's quickly talk about how do we get all these books? Where do these books come from? It's taken me a long time to build up my classroom library, and I'm still doing it because, oh my gosh, we know there are so many amazing books out there. So how I've built up my library over the years have been going to thrift stores. You can find so many great books in thrift stores. Garage sales, another great way to find books. Scholastic. I love using Scholastic and their book readers club. You can earn points to get free books. A lot of times they have great books that you can unlock for $1 or $2. You can go ahead and buy those in bulk. I like to give those out as gifts throughout the year to students. Again, we just want to build our libraries, build their libraries, make sure they have access to as many books as we can get them to. At the bottom of this video too, I'm also going to link in some of my favorite lists for our favorite read alouds throughout the year, so you can check those out too. Okay, and after you have gotten your books, you're ready to get them organized, let's talk about how to organize them. Okay, so I told you we're gonna be talking a lot about organizing by genre, but let's talk about where do these books go? You're gonna put them in a bin, you're gonna put them on a shelf. I found that especially with young learners, I like having them in a home where they can stay. These bins are great from Lakeshore. I love these bins. I also love these bins from the dollar store. These are huge. This bin is almost 10 years old from the dollar store. You can buy them in bulk, and look at it. First of all, it holds big books, this huge book, and it stays intact. Look at that. And it's huge. I love the dollar store bins. Another must-have for getting organized are these adhesive pouches from the dollar section at Target. I always grab a bunch of these during summertime when they put these out. These, again, super durable, last forever, and you can easily change out your categories. Let's say you did it by genre and you want to change it. If you have these little adhesive pouches that, again, they're really durable, they stay on there, you can easily change and take out whatever category you have on there. So these are a must, and you can always find a bunch of these in the dollar section at Target. All right, we have talked about where to gather books, the tools we need to be able to organize those books, and of course, the books themselves. So if you have all of those, now we're ready to start organizing. I'm going to teach you my process for organizing books. That it's tedious at first, but again, once it's done, it's done. You don't have to do it again. and the kids keep it organized. It really is magic. If this is your first time going through the process of organizing your classroom library, this is definitely a summer project. I did this over the summer one year. It took a while, but like I said, now everything is beautifully organized and stays that way. So when you get ready to start organizing your books, what I want you to do is I want you to gather all the books you have. And if you have some that are falling apart, go ahead, get rid of those, purge some books that are really old or outdated, and just hone in on the books that you really want kids to access. And a caveat on that, if you want to, so for example, let's say you have a huge section of books that are funny humor books, go ahead, put some in the bin. You can keep some in a closet and you can rotate to keep those books new and exciting for kids too. That's also a really great tip that works. But if you're ready to start organizing, what I want you to do is I want you to put all of your books out from your library into piles. So let's say you can see I have 3 here for us. Animals, which is always huge. You can even break it down into, fiction animals, nonfiction animals, seasons, humor. There are so many different categories of books. So just start looking at what do you have the most of? What can you make a good category out of that students, 1, are interested in, and 2, that you have a lot of that you can put out. After you have organized your books into categories, and you'll find some you're like, where does this fit best? Again, leave it out or put it in one. You can always change it. It's really easy to move around. But go ahead, get everything organized into categories. Then here's my favorite part. Once you have all of your books organized by category, you can mark them. Here is where we teach students organization and independence, is by marking these books. So I have these Avery sticker labels, which I'll also link for you. These are fantastic. So you simply print the label. You print as many books as you have. Real easy. It's a whole sheet of animals, for example, or seasons, or whatever your category is. Then you just stick it on the book. These are really easy to peel and stick because they're stickers. They stay on there because it's very small and flat, but kids can see exactly where they go. And because they have the name and the visual for students, even our kindergarten students, our pre-K students can figure out how to keep their library organized because, it says animals, it goes in the animal section. Now, are they going to get disorganized? Of course they are. They're students, right? But because these books have all their labels on them, we can have this become a job every week. This is what I always do. I have 2 people each week that go through the bins, make sure they're in the right places, and if not, they fix them, and it takes 2 seconds. Versus, I don't know where this goes. Then they just put it somewhere. They want new books. You guys know, how it goes. So, but when you have the labels on there for students, okay, I know exactly where this goes, and oops, I put it in the wrong place. I can easily move it. So gets organized, stays organized. Students can handle it without you. That's the best part. Now we know the system. How do students access books? A system that has worked really well for me and my students is having a specific time each week. So sometimes it just depends on the time in the schedule. Sometimes it's in the morning. It's, every Monday morning we get 5 new books. Maybe it's during reading time. They have a time that they can go get new books. Whenever you find time in your schedule, typically what I've done is they get a bag and they keep that bag for the whole week. They get to pick 5 books, and we talk about how we pick books. We talk about keeping them organized. We learn all those expectations of our classroom library. Then they get to pick their books. I typically send up 5 students at a time to pick new books. They put their books back first. Then they get to pick 5 new books. And while this is happening, all the other students are either reading their old books or they're reading their new books. And it takes about, I would say, it depends. And of course, they get better as it goes on throughout the year, but about 20 to 30 minutes. You want to give them the time. Normally during that time, I'm in the library helping, making sure books stay organized, if kids need help finding a book. And this works beautifully. They're practicing those skills that they've been taught in reading group. They're getting the time to pick new books. And again, we're making sure that space stays organized. And it really is a wonderful system that lasts all year long and for years to come. Now you may say to yourself, this all sounds beautiful and great. What if things turn into chaos? What if kids aren't putting books back correctly? What if they're not treating books correctly? I get you. I get asked this a lot. So here's what I do. I am either we don't use the library until we know specifically how we use books, how we treat books, how we use the library. And two, if we are having a hard time taking care of books, fighting over books, keeping books organized, then we take that space away and we block it off. Nope. No library use until we can figure out how to be respectful to the library, how we can figure out how to keep the library organized. Guys, you know they love the library. It's one of their favorite spaces. It's one of my favorite spaces, but also they have to be respectful to the library or not everyone can use and access it. So if they're not doing it, take it away, block it off. Nope, we have to practice. Then maybe you say, okay, we're gonna try. Let's see if 5 students can show us how we go to the library and get books. Let's see if students can show us how we put our books away. And really taking the time to explicitly model and teach them those expectations so they do care for your books and they do keep your space organized. And if you love this system as much as I do, I'm going to go ahead and link this in the bottom too, as well as the blog post. You can go read all about this as well and save it for later if you're not ready. So this set comes with 75 different categories, as well as the stickers that you can print and match on each book, as well as editable categories too, so that you can add your own in case I might have missed one. Before you go, let's talk about your books for a second. Are your books that you use throughout the year organized? Think about those back to school books, or maybe our holiday books that we pull out. If you're saying, no, they're not, I have a freebie for you. So if you go and subscribe, you can grab this freebie to keep all your books organized. It comes with year-long labels of every month, and it makes it really nice and easy to organize all your books throughout the year too. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe for more tips, tricks, hacks to get your classroom to almost run itself. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Please leave me a comment if you have any questions or if you want to learn more. Thanks again, and make sure to subscribe to get your freebie.